Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 26th Feb. The news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 40. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, CPC clears the deck for third term for Xi. So Chinese president is Mr. Xi Jinping. He is in his second term now and there are plans to have him elected for the third consecutive term in office. So for both the president and the vice president, the proposal has been put forth that the constitutional restriction that 2 consecutive terms in office are only allowed. They cannot be elected for the third term. So this constitutional restriction has to be removed. So China, which is a communist country, it's a one-party rule here. So the Communist Party of China is the one which has proposed this now. So the 2-term restriction would be removed even for the vice president. The vice president, the former vice president Wang Zishan, who officially retired in November 2017, could now be reappointed as vice president after this proposal is passed. So he is called the country's anti-corruption czar and he is an ally of President Xi Jinping. So the 86 million members party, Communist Party of China, has proposed this, and the Politburo, which is the powerful body of 25 members, the 25 prominent members of CPC. So this Politburo actually met and this announcement has been made. So the Chinese Parliament, National People's Congress, will finally take a decision on this, and once this constitutional restriction is removed, the president and vice president can have a third consecutive term. 2-term restriction would be removed. Also, there's a plan to have this National Supervisory Commission established, which will be a body which will look into corruption related cases for not just public but also private business houses. So this is expected to be chaired by Wang Zishan, the former vice president. So this also could happen in the future. This is there. Here you can see the details are provided. So, the successor has also not been appointed. Traditionally, the president has a successor appointed. So, in last year's Congress, no successor was appointed. So, this is what is going forward. That traditionally, the limit on presidencies, which is there for 10 years, this may be removed. So, both former presidents like Jiang Zemin and even Hu Jintao, they served a 10-year term, and then the next successor was appointed. But now President Xi Jinping may see a third term too. Then next is CBI books UP based sugar company in rupees 109 crore bank fraud. So CBI has registered another case of bank fraud. This is UP based private sugar company and its 9 senior functionaries. So they have been allegedly held for cheating OBC, Oriental Bank of Commerce, of rupees 109.08 crores. So bank officials here were also involved. So CBI has registered this case. Earlier CBI has also registered a case of bank fraud of 389 crores in which a Delhi-based jeweler exporter and his business partner had cheated the bank. So such cases are coming forth now. So fraud by which the money is taken as loan by corporates and then they are defaulting. So Prevention of Corruption Act and IPC have been invoked against them. So this is there. So here you can see in this case also the fraud. The sugar company was given this money as loan, but the company diverted it for other purposes rather than for the purpose for which it was given as a loan. So it was for financing sugarcane farmers who were supplying sugar to the company. So that is why there was a scheme under RBI. So under this loan was sanctioned in 2011, but then the money was fraudulently diverted by the company. And now it has turned a non-performing asset. It was a non-performing asset since March 2015. So later it was also restructured. So this restructuring of loan also took place. So another loan was sanctioned so that the money can be repaid. So another corporate loan was given and now that also has turned into NPA. So that is why the alleged outstanding amount now is 109.08 crores. So this is there. Then next is CJI Mishra sets up a constitution bench. So we have been discussing about this 2-judge benches case on land acquisition. So this land acquisition judgment, which was given in 2014 by a 3-judge bench, has been called against the provisions of the law by another 3-judge bench in Feb 2018, and this has been called as tinkering with judicial discipline by another 3-judge bench. That's why the 2 3-judge benches actually which were looking into this land acquisition case referred it to the CJI, that a larger bench has to be constituted to look into land acquisition cases, and now CJI has formed a 5-judge constitutional bench to resolve this conflict. So this is the news. Then next is bird flu in Paradip, culling begins. So in Odisha's Jagatsinghpur district, administration has begun culling, means killing of chickens, in the port town of Paradip because there's a confirmation of avian flu from different bird species here. So bird flu has been confirmed in a dead cow also here. So locals have been advised not to consume chicken as such, and killing of these birds have begun. So you should know about bird flu. Here the details are also provided. So H5N1 is the most well-known strain of this avian flu, bird flu. So it does not usually infect humans, but in a mutated form, in a changed form, the virus can also affect humans, and there is a risk of a pandemic too. So here you can see how the bird flu gets transmitted. So this is a common virus which is shown here, and this is the mutated virus. So only through mutated virus humans can also be affected. Otherwise it spreads among birds. You can see here waterfowl, shore birds and domestic birds are usually affected, and mammals like pigs, they are the intermediate hosts. So they can also be infected by human flu virus, and that is why the risk of mutated human compatible viruses is possible through pigs, and humans get affected. So this mutated virus can spread from humans to humans too, and there have been major flu pandemics also. So here you can see the details provided, like Spanish flu, Asian flu, and even Hong Kong flu of 1968. So this H1N1 strain of flu virus is generally known as Spanish influenza. So this is bird flu. Then next is Rustam-2 UAV successfully test flown. So this is India's underdeveloped unmanned aerial vehicle UAV Rustam-2. So this has been successfully test flown by DRDO from the aeronautical test range at Chitradurga in Karnataka. So it's a MALE, means medium altitude long endurance drone. So a drone is an unmanned aerial vehicle. So this has actually 3 versions. So Rustam-2, Rustam-1 and Rustam-H. We'll see the details too. So Rustam-2 is a MALE, medium altitude. So it can fly up to an altitude of 22,000 feet, and long endurance, it has an endurance of over 20 hours. So it's capable of carrying payloads for electronic and signal intelligence missions. So this drone is being test flown presently and has been successfully test flown. So once it is successful, it will be inducted into the armed forces. Presently, the armed forces, Army, Navy and Air Force employ Israeli drones. And there are projected requirements of hundreds of more such drones, including armed variants in the near future. So DRDO is developing these drones. Rustam. So here you can see the Rustam name. In English it means a warrior. So this Rustam unmanned aerial vehicles developed by DRDO for the Army, Navy and Air Force. The term Rustam name is also derived from the National Aeronautics Limited team, who developed under the leadership of Rustam B. Damani in 1980s. They developed LCRA, Light Canard Research Aircraft. So this UAV has been named Rustam after that. So this is the details regarding Rustam-1, Rustam-2 and H. Rustam-H. Rustam-1, as we saw, is MALE, medium altitude long range. This is high altitude long endurance. And Rustam-2 is also under development. These are the 3. Then next is Center plans law to seize assets of fleeing offenders. So the central government will soon bring out a bill called Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill. So this bill proposes to confiscate assets of those who flee the country to evade prosecution or refuse to return as such. And this will be against those who are involved in cases of involving more than 100 crore rupees. So this bill as such was circulated in May 2017 too. It was cleared by the Union Law Ministry too. Certain recommendations were put forth to reconciliate it with the current existing laws as such. The bill was announced in budget 2017-18 last year as such. So the measures are being proposed to be put into effect. So this bill actually had its genesis in the Vijay Mallya case, in which he owes more than 9,000 crore to public sector banks, and he flew out of the country and has refused to come back. So legal battle is still going on. The government is trying to extradite him from UK, bring him back from UK. And now another case has come forth. This is 11,400 crore fraud in Punjab National Bank in the Nirav Modi case. And they are also abroad. So again, this bill has gained momentum. Also, other cases are coming forth, like we just discussed the sugar case, company case. So in this OBC case, Oriental Bank of Commerce case of even jewelry exporter, another jewelry exporter, and this case of sugar company. So there is a need for such a bill. This bill, draft bill, also defines what is a fugitive economic offender, means an individual against whom an arrest warrant has been issued and who has either left the country or refuses to come back to face prosecution. So in these cases, he is called a fugitive economic offender, and Enforcement Directorate has been empowered under this proposed bill to bring in provisions of Prevention of Money Laundering Act against him and initiate proceedings. So this provision of repayment of dues to creditors by disposing confiscated assets in case the accused offender continues to evade prosecution has been put forth. So this will be applicable to various financial and allied offences as defined under IPC, Prevention of Corruption Act, SEBI Act, Customs Act, Companies Act, and even Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. This is there. Here you can see the details provided, the definition of a fugitive economic offender, and the authorities have to prove that he is a fugitive economic offender. Then next is, states can decide on exempting certain municipal areas from liquor ban, says Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court actually had ordered a ban on sale of liquor on national and state highways. So this ban on sale of liquor was through a judgment in December 2016 by the Supreme Court. So this objective was to prevent drunken driving along these busy thoroughfares. But then later questions arose because there was sale of liquor allowed in some local routes, or some state highways were turned into municipal roads as such, local roads. So such steps which were taken to subvert this judgment of the Supreme Court resulted in further petitions being filed in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave a clarification in July 2017 in which it said that municipal areas are exempted from the prohibition. So this is mainly focused on national and state highways. So municipal areas can be exempted. So this was a clarification given, but this clarification resulted in further doubt. Tamil Nadu approached the Supreme Court further, saying that whether this definition of municipal areas also includes panchayats. So panchayats are also included because they are also local bodies. So this was a question being raised. So now the Supreme Court has given the clarification that state governments have the discretion to decide on the facts whether local self-governing bodies or areas close to municipal pockets should be exempted from this ban of liquor. So liquor sale is banned within 500 meters along highways. So this original order of December 2016 has resulted in further clarifications too. And now Supreme Court says whether local self-governing bodies would be covered or not, the state governments have to decide. So this, they have the discretion. So this is the order. So decision has to be taken after examining whether an area covered by local self-governing body is close to a municipal agglomeration or is sufficiently developed. So then this exemption can be applied to it. States have to decide. So even individual licensees have to submit their representations to the competent authorities in the states, and they will decide whether they should be exempted or not. There should not be more litigation before high courts and repeated recourse to applications even in the apex court. So this is also being stated by the Supreme Court in this order that states should decide. So here the details are provided. So Supreme Court banned liquor in December 2017 within 500 meters of national and state highways. So this you can see there are a number of road accidents and many are caused due to drunken driving. So that was the reason why this order was passed. which resulted in further clarification coming from Supreme Court, as discussed here, because NGO challenged that various states and union territories were denotifying certain major state highways as major district roads. Then the next news item is political end to Olympics as South Korea says North open to talks with US. So the Olympics, Winter Olympics of 2018, which took place in South Korea in Pyeongchang, they have come to an end here, and the three nations involved, North Korea, South Korea and US, they have been under war for decades. There's suspicion. The leaders here shared the VIP box as such. So the North Korean official, South Korean president, and US presidential advisor and first daughter of President Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, they were sitting together in this VIP box. Though there were no communication which took place, but North Korea has said that it has intentions to hold talks with United States. So North Korea, South Korea are reconciling, and it is said that the two Koreas should reconcile along with even North Korea and US having talks. So this is what North Korea wants now. It wants to open up talks with US and seeking help from South Korea to end the crisis which is there. We are seeing North Korea developing missiles and threatening US, and US threatening with sanctions against North Korea. So talks are being proposed now. Then next is in Russia, bringing home the children raised by IS. So the US-led coalition and the Syrian government support of President Bashar al-Assad, supported by Russia, have been fighting for long. The Islamic State emerged under this scenario, and it has also been effectively put down. So after the Islamic State has also been almost destroyed, the ruins which remain here, they have seen that there are hundreds and thousands of children who have been born and brought with men and women who had come to Syria to support Islamic State. So children from various nationals are here, and that was a successful recruitment drive which was going on under Islamic State. So these children as such from Russia, they have been returned to Russia now, and there are around 71 children and 26 women. They have been brought back to their grandparents in Russia. So Russia here believes that these children actually have grown up in camps and they have been radicalized. They have been tried to be made immune to violence also. They have been desensitized to violence. But then the Russian government does not want them to return as radicalized adults, but as children. They have been brought back into the families in Russia. So as many as 5,000 family members of foreign terrorist recruits are presently marooned in camps. So 71 such children have returned, and they are being now taken care of so that they can be inculcated into the reconcile with the society and not turn into radicalized adults. So this is what Russia is doing here. Then next is lithium-ion batteries charge up rural houses. So this is regarding a company, Kaho India Private Limited. So it is helping the center to achieve rural electrification. So they are beyond the power grid also. There are various villages beyond the power grid, even especially in left-wing extremism affected areas in Chhattisgarh, etc. So there's a need to provide electricity to these regions as well. So this company, which was started in 2012, is providing this last mile energy access through compact solar modules. So these solar modules actually require a battery. The solar panel itself has a lifespan of 25 years, but the batteries which they were using, the lead acid batteries, had a lifespan of only 2 to 3 years. So now they have started using lithium-ion batteries, which gives them a much better life. They are much lighter too, and delivery also to remote areas becomes easier. So this device, compact solar modules developed by the company, can power 3 lights, 1 fan, 1 4 charger, and also has a socket to power a DC power television. So this is being provided in villages. It has also decided to sell these to the government under its Saubhagya scheme. So the Saubhagya scheme, which we have discussed quite often, we'll see that again too. So this is regarding lithium-ion batteries. Basically, even the charging time for these batteries is very low. Some technologies, lithium-ion batteries can be charged in 10 minutes. So these are the benefits which are provided. So you should know about these lead acid and lithium-ion batteries too, and how lithium-ion batteries are better, and regarding the Saubhagya scheme too. So here the details are provided, you can see. So lithium-ion batteries are 4 times stronger or 4 times lighter too as such in terms of battery weight as such. And then discharge cycles also, it has a longer life than lead acid batteries. That's the major advantage. Also charge time is quite low. Also it has 3 times more energy harvested through it. So these are the major benefits. The initial cost of lithium-ion batteries is of course high, that is true, but otherwise they are even safer and also more eco-friendly batteries, lithium-ion batteries. They are used in for various purposes, like there are various types of lithium battery technologies. They are used in cell phones, laptops, cameras, electric vehicles, and even for grid storage, as we have seen. Then this is regarding the Saubhagya scheme, Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana scheme. So this is to provide access to electricity to all willing households to substitute kerosene. It will improve various services because once electricity is available, education, health, communication services are improved, public safety is improved, and also it results in creation of jobs and better life, especially for women in their daily jobs. So this is a Saubhagya scheme for providing last mile connectivity to electricity for rural households. Then next is the end game for NPAs in sight? So we are seeing gross NPAs for banks are increasing. They were below 1 lakh crore between financial year 2006 and 2011. But now after financial year 2012, they have increased from 1.4 lakh crore to 7.9 lakh crore in March 2017. So even the gross NPAs as a proportion of total loans is 10.2% in September 2017. Means for every 100 rupee loan given by Indian banks, 10 rupees 10 is already in default. So Indian banks' first requirement is they should recognize the loans as bad loans. And a loan is called a non-performing asset if the interest of the principal amount which has to be repaid is overdue for more than 90 days. And you know already that bulk of these NPAs are with public sector banks. As soon as a bank recognizes a loan as an NPA, an obligation is there, RBI requires it to set aside a percentage of its current profits towards the likely loss. That is called provisioning of loans. So this bad loan provisioning, it ranges from 15% to 100%. Means entire loan amount should be provisioned for, or at least 15%. So the range is there. So this also affects the profits of the banks. So the reported profits of banks also go low. It is said that public sector banks are actually having an aggregate loss reported since since financial year 2016. So this is also there. So the capital buffers of banks are also being eaten up on because of these non-performing assets. Also the international norms which are applicable for India to the Basel III norms for banking sector. A minimum of 9% CRAR, capital to risk weighted assets ratio, is proposed to be maintained, but Indian banks are maintaining a CRAR of much higher requirement as such, but more than 9% for the last 4 years. So this capital adequacy problem has been addressed by the central government through even its recapitalization package. So capital provisioning is being done for the banks. But now what is required is that there is a need to recognize, there are 4 R's actually which are proposed for this, for the correction of Indian banks. That is recognition, resolution, recapitalization and reform. So first and foremost case is recognition. Once the recognition is done, means all NPAs are recognized. Then next step is resolution of these non-performing assets, even recapitalization, as we are seeing the central government going for recapitalization package, and then it will result in long-term reforms also for the banking sector. So all these NPAs have accumulated because of the boom period for economy, 2003 to 2010, when loans were indiscriminately given by banks, but then later because of the global crisis, the servicing of these loans stopped, and then restructuring of these loans was done so that they can become viable, but then this restructuring also resulted in no benefit, and finally they have further accumulated as NPAs, and recognition is the first step. So no further escalation of NPAs should take place. But now we are seeing even new bank frauds coming forth, which will also add up to the NPAs. So this first step is very important, peaking here. so that no more NPAs accumulate, and then the further steps, the latter 3 R's being put into effect will result in this NPA issue being completely resolved. So this is what the article is basically trying to put forth. So here you can see the details provided, how NPAs have increased from 2012 from around 1.38 lakh crore to more than 7 lakh crores. So this is the net NPA, gross NPA, stressed advances, and CRR shown here. Capital to risk weighted asset ratio. Then the next news item is, why has coal mining been opened up? So we have seen the news that commercial coal mining from private sector has been opened up in Feb 2018. So about 70% of power generation in India takes place using coal, and this domestic coal has been able to meet only 75% of our annual coal demand. So import has to be we depend on import then. So that is why there is a need to open up the mining sector, coal mining sector, because the state-owned Coal India Limited is not able to fulfill the domestic demand as such too. So coal was open for commercial mining. It was nationalized in 1973 under the Indira Gandhi government, and Coal India Limited was set up in 1975, which has monopolized the sector. It has a major share as such. It's also the world's largest coal producer as such too. But now we are seeing that there is a need for coal sector to be opened up to the private sector, and such a policy decision has been taken. From 1993 to 2011, around 218 coal blocks were allocated to eligible public sector undertakings and private firms too. And these were not completely open coal mining, they were for specified end use projects like for power sector or steel or cement sector. So this, and also for PSUs. But then this coal block allocation was also challenged in the Supreme Court, and in August 2014, Supreme Court cancelled the allocation of these blocks because it was shown that this was arbitrarily done and was illegal. So that is why these cancelled coal blocks have to be reallocated to, that was done by passing a law, Coal Mines Special Provisions Act of 2015. So this coal blocks can be reallocated. So now it should be only through auction that these coal blocks can be allocated. So even the present policy talks of auction, which will bring in greater efficiency, technology, and even higher investment and more employment into the sector. Also, the revenue generated would go to the states. So that will help in the development of the areas and inhabitants in these states where mining takes place, like Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, MP, Telangana, and Madhya Pradesh. They would majorly benefit. Also, the auctioning would be ascending forward auction. So it will be a two-stage online auction. First will be a technical bid and then a financial bid with initial and final price offers. Also, as it has been stated, there will be no curb on the sale or use of coal from the mine. So it will be open-ended. It can be for any sector, the use of the coal, and it can be sold to any sector. So also the coal industry says that this policy would be commercially viable only if the minimum block offered is of 40 to 50 million tons. So this process would be put into effect, then we'll get further details, but the policy has been announced. So here the details are also provided. So 40-year state monopoly ends. Only foreign companies with Indian arms will be eligible for here in the auction, for commercial coal mining and auction, participating in the auction. So this is there. And this is regarding the total reserves in the country, Coal India's output as such, and production by captive coal blocks as such too. And the Supreme Court cancelling the allocations after CAG found that the allocation of these coal mines has resulted in huge financial loss to the government because auctioning was not used. And government brought in an ordinance and later a law, as we saw, for auctioning the coal mines. Then next is Apple moves to store iCloud keys in China, raising human rights fears. So Apple has now announced that it will host Chinese users' iCloud accounts in a new Chinese data center at the end of February 2018. So this is to comply with the new laws in China. Chinese authorities say that all the data regarding Chinese individuals have to be stored in servers in China. So far Apple was serving, because there are these cryptographic keys, encryption keys, they need to be used to unlock the iCloud accounts. They were actually being stored in US. So a government or law enforcement authority who wants access to these iCloud accounts, they needed to go through the US legal system. So China insisted that no, Chinese iCloud accounts should be in China itself. So these keys now would be stored in China itself. That has what has been announced by Apple. So Chinese authorities will no longer have to go to US courts to seek information on iCloud users. They can use their own legal system and ask Apple to hand over these iCloud data. So this has resulted in fear in human rights activists in China, who say that the power to track down dissidents by Chinese would increase because they'll have easy access. Even more than a decade ago, Yahoo had also handed over user data to Chinese authorities, which resulted in arrest and prison sentences for 2 democracy advocates in China. So now Apple also says that we tried our best, but then there was no way out. China insisted and we had to comply with the Chinese laws. So this is what is happening. Apple has also decided that it will comply with Chinese laws now. So human rights fears have been raised now. So here you can see Chinese iPhone users. So this is the smartphone market in urban China. So iPhone users have been increasing. This is in 2017. Then next is a tussle and a quick fall into a debt morass. So this is regarding the telecom sector actually. So here we have seen that Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has come out with its latest order, and this order has been called as favoring one telecom company, that is Reliance Jio, though not directly named, because other major service providers like Airtel, Vodafone and Idea, who are members of the Cellular Operators Association of India, COAI, have said that TRAI is, through its orders, has been favoring Reliance Jio. So this is distorting the competitive landscape in the telecom sector in favor of one operator, and that is affecting others. So new norms which have brought out are that there is no need to impose restrictions on number of promotional offers that an operator can provide to its subscribers. So there was a restriction which has now been removed. Also, the definition of significant market power has changed. This we have discussed in news few days back too. Telecom TRAI decided that significant market power definition would change. It would exclude parameters like traffic volume and switching capacity. So this actually results in, so significant market share definition would be restricted only to 2 aspects: mobile revenue and subscriber share, not include traffic volume and switching capacity, which was earlier included. So this will mean that for other companies, Airtel, Vodafone and Idea, they have significant market power. So there will be restrictions imposed on them. But on Reliance Jio, which will not be a significant market power after this change definition of SMP, would have flexibility on pricing until it crosses the 30% subscriber share. So this actually has been called as a biased decision of TRAI also. So this controversy actually started because Reliance Jio entered the industry with a welcome offer. It was giving free voice and data services to its subscribers for 3 months, which was extended till March 2017. So this was called Happy New Year offer. So this was also challenged by the 3 companies, Bharti Airtel, Vodafone and Idea, that this offer was in violation of the limited promotional offers norms, that they can be only for 90 days. But then the TRAI said that this is not flouting the regulations because the new offer which has been made is a distinct plan. So this was the TRAI's order, which was also challenged by the 3 subscribers, 3 other companies in Telecom Dispute Settlement Appellate Tribunal. So here in Tribunal also, that it said that the plans of Reliance Jio did not violate any rules, but then it said that the company did not adhere to 7-day limit for reporting a new offer to TRAI. So it was not intimated as such. So this was a ruling given. So of course the 3 companies were not satisfied, Airtel, Vodafone and Idea. Also they have said that this mobile termination charges as such have been reduced by TRAI. So this is also resulting in a huge loss for the older players and in favor of Reliance Jio. So the telecom sector is being affected. They said they can't compete with something which has been provided free. It is eating up the competition in the market, and this will result in monopoly being generated, and then later consumers will be affected. So that is their argument. And the telecom sector is also suffering because their stress here is increasing, losses are increasing, debt pile is increasing, price war going on, revenue reduced. So spectrum losses are also taking place. So this actually is going to affect this entire sector. So even consolidation is being tried in the telecom sector. We are seeing that Airtel took over Tata Tele Services. Also Reliance Reliance Communication is selling its wireless asset to Reliance Jio. Vodafone and Idea have announced a merger. So there is consolidation taking place too, and the stress in the sector has increased significantly. It's been highlighted. So these are the news items. Thank you.